Tav Ches Amud Aleph, 4 lines from the top. We learned previously Machlokes Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Yehuda. If the tzitz that the Kohen Gadol wore on his forehead, the tzitz is maratza, it affects acceptance for a korban that became tomei. According to Rabbi Yehuda, it's only when the Kohen Gadol is wearing it. According to Rabbi Shimon, even though he's not wearing it, as long as it's not broken, it's maratza. According to Rabbi Shimon, who says it always is maratza, even when he's not wearing it. Al metzach v'nosa. The pasuk says al metzach aran v'nosa. So it's mashma only when he's wearing it. The Gemara says no, that doesn't mean that he has to be wearing it. That's only to establish the place where it's worn. It's worn on metzach, on the forehead. There's machlokes rishonim. Does that mean on the forehead, mamish? According to Rashi, it means that way. According to Ritva, it means above the hairline. But in any event, it's on that part, the general part of the head, above the eyes, and on the forehead of the kohen. That's where it's supposed to be worn. So that's what it means, metzach. Not that it has to be worn there to be maratza. That's the place where he wears it. Rabbi Yehuda, where does he know that from? Nafkaleh al metzcha. He says it because the pasuk says al metzcha twice. The pasuk says vayal metzach aron v'nasar nasam v'karoshim. Then the end of the pasuk says vayal metzcha tomid l'rotzon lam l'fnei Hashem. So it says again the metzach. So he learns it that from the extra usage of the word. Rabbi Shimon, Nami Tepel Me'al Mitzcha. Well, like Malcolm, why doesn't Rabbi Shimon learn it the same way? What it says, Enochanami. Yes, he does. Then comes back the question. So, what does he learn? The Metzach V'Nosa for. So, more answers. Ella Metzach V'Nosa My Ovidle. What does he darshan from that? Omerlach Roy LeMetzach V'Rasa. If it's fit to be worn, fit for his forehead, it's maratza. Shein royal metzach ain't a maratza. If it's not fit for his forehead, it's not fit to be worn. Meaning, if it's broken, it's not maratza. La puke nishbarat says the loy maratza. What is coming to exclude is a case that when it's broken, when it can't be worn. When it can't be worn, it's not maratza. But as long as it could be worn, Rabbi Shimon holds, even if he's not wearing it, it is maratza. According to Rabbi Yehuda, how does he know? Nishbarat says, where does he know that from? Meaning, the way the Tais Rosh explains is, according to Rabbi Yehuda, if you don't have a limud for nishbarat tzitz, I would say that the limud that you do have is to tell me to exclude nishbarat tzitz. But you wouldn't have another limud tell me that he has to wear it all the time. So, when it says over here that it's al mitzchay, if we don't have another limud, we would say, like Rav Shimon is saying, it only has to be a royal metzach, not that he has to actually wear it. So our answer is nafkalei mimetzach mitzchay. He learns it from the fact that it says mitzchay. It could have said metzach, and it says that mitzchay. It says the extra vav. It comes to teach you that this as well, an extra drasha. So it has from the extra vav, it teaches you that it has to be royal mitzvah. Rav Shimon, Metzach mitzvah le'mashma. Rav Shimon does not darshan the extra vav, and therefore he does not have this extra drasha, and therefore he says it only has to be royal mitzvah, but it doesn't have to be actually wearing it. Now the Gemara comes back to the machlokes we had previously about tumahutra b'tzibur or the choya b'tzibur. So, Zok Gemara name Hanei Tanoi Kahane Tanoi. Let's say these following Tanoim are like the previous Tanoim, the Sanya. Echad ve'echad zeh, rather, both this kohen, the kohen on Yom Kippur, and the kohen that burns the paraduma. Mazan alav kol shiva mikol chatois shoyusham. They would sprinkle from the ashes. They would take the ashes of all the chatois they had. Stored away some of the ashes from all the chatzais of the paradumas, and they would take from the ashes and mix it with the water and sprinkle it on both of them all 7 days. The Rameir, that's what Rameir says. They would sprinkle on them all 7 days. All the 7 days of the sequestering, they would sprinkle on him. On these kohanim, meaning really the hazor has to take place on the 3rd day of the tumah and the 7th day of the tumah, and then the person who's tomei is toivel. but we don't know when Tumah happened. We don't know even if there was Tumah. And if there is Tumah, we don't know when. So perhaps the first day of the sequestering really is a third day of Tumah. Maybe he became Tomei 2 days prior. And so maybe the first day is the third day. Maybe the second day is the third day, etc., etc. And then you keep going because you don't know of when the third day is, and you don't know when the seventh day is. So on each day of the sequestering, you're mazeh because perhaps this is the third day of the Tumah, or perhaps it's the seventh day of the Tumah. So therefore, you have each day of that you take into account that, well, perhaps this is the third day of the Tumah. So the first 3 days, you're mazeh each of the first 3 days, because any one of these days could have been the third day of the Tumah. Your mazeh on the 5th, 6th, and the 7th days, because any of those days could have been the 7th day of the Tumah. The 4th day, the Gemara will discuss why we're mazeh on the 4th day. So that's what Rameir says. Rameir says on both the Kohen Gadol Yom Kippur and the Kohen Sarif Zapara, you're mazeh all 7 days. Rabbi Yossi Yomer, he says, Ein mazeh alav ela shlishi v'shvi b'lvad. He says, no, you don't do all 7 days, only the 3rd and the 7th day. Rabbi Chanina's Kana Kahana Maimer, Kaina Seir Sapara, Mazar Alav Kol Shiva. He says, as far as the Kain who burns a para, there you do all 7. Kohen Gadol Yom Kippurim, Ein Mazar Alav ela shlishi v'shvi. Kohen Gadol Yom Kippur, only the 3rd, 7th day. So now the Gemara analyzes this machlekes. Ma'ila b'hakem miflegi. Is this not the basis of the machlekes? What is the machlekes between Rav Meir and Rav Yossi? Rav Meir says that you do both of them all 7, and Rav Yossi says you only do the 3rd and the 7th. So what is the machlekes? Rav Meir savar tuma dechuya, savar tuma dechuya b'tzibur. He holds that a tuma is only dechuya b'tzibur. And therefore, you have to take into account the possibility that the Kayan was Tomei, and you therefore are mazeh each day to ensure that you're mazeh on the 3rd and 7th day. Rav Yossi savar tuma decheter b'tzibur, and he holds, no, tuma is hotra b'tzibur. And it's not really required because tuma is hotra b'tzibur. And therefore, we don't have to make sure that you're mazeh necessarily on the 3rd and 7th day. We learn it out from Miluim, it's a chumrah from Miluim, but we're not that concerned because Tumah hotra b'tzibur. Can you really say that this is the machlokes, whether it's based on Tumah dechuya b'tzibur or hotra b'tzibur v'tizbra? Isav Rabbi Yossi heter b'tzibur, if he holds that it's hotra b'tzibur, hazor klal amali. Why do you need the hazor at all? Why do you even need it on the 3rd and 7th day? You shouldn't need it hazor at all. If you're going to say that you learn it out from Miluim, then you should say that you should do it on all 7 days like the Miluim. And if you say that you don't learn it out from Miluim, well, then if it's Man Yom Kippur, I'll call upon him, it's a Tumah hotra b'tzibur, you shouldn't need it at all. Ella, Gemara says, no, that's not the basis of the machlekes. Ella the kuli alma hanitun savar tumah dechuya b'tzibur. They hold, both of them hold that tumah is dechuya b'tzibur, and therefore you do need a hazor. You do need the hazor to ensure that he is tor. So what's the basis of the machlekes? Rabbi Meir savar mina tefillah b'zman mitzvah. Rabbi Meir holds that tefillah b'zman is a mitzvah. At the time that a person is able to be tor, the first instance that he's able to be tor, it's a mitzvah to be toivel right away. The pasuk says, "V'hiza tor ala tameh b'yam hashlishi u'v'yam hashvi." It says you sprinkle on the 3rd and 7th days. V'chitai b'yam hashvi v'chimes b'gadav v'rachas b'mayim v'tar b'erev. And it says v'tar b'erev. That evening he should be matar himself. That evening he should be toivel. And to be matar was mashma that immediately he should do it. So therefore, he holds that tefillah b'zman mitzvah, and tefillah b'zman mitzvah, therefore also hazor b'zman mitzvah, and therefore we do the Hazor all 7 days to ensure that the Hazor took place on the 3rd day and the 7th day. Rav Yossi Savar Lo Yamrein Tefillah B'Zman Mitzvah, and he also, you don't know Tefillah B'Zman Mitzvah, therefore you don't have to ensure that the Tefillah is done on the 3rd day of the Tumah and the 7th day of the Tumah. You only have to ensure that there is a Hazor that's done twice, not before the 3rd day of the Tumah, and it has to be a 4-day interval between the 1st and 2nd Hazor. But if it is in actuality, in reality, the 3rd day of his Tumah or the 7th day of the Tumah, it doesn't matter. Frank the Gemara, can you say that? Can you say that Rav Yossi says we don't hold Tefillah B'Zman Mitzvah? How can you say that about Tanya? We learn in the Brisa, Harei Shaya Hashem, Kosav B'Sar, if a person had the Shem Hashem written on his body, Harei Zelo Yerchatz V'lo Yasol, he shouldn't wash, or he shouldn't rub himself, anoint himself with oil, because it'll rub out the name. And the pasuk says, "V'ibadatem es Shemayim amakam hahu lo yisasu kain l'Hashem Elokeichem." It says that the Avodah Zarah you have to destroy from that place. Don't do that to Hashem, meaning it's also to destroy or rub out, erase the name of Hashem. So therefore, he cannot wash his body. So he shouldn't stand in a dirty place because he has the Shem Hashem there. Now, if he has a tefillah mitzvah, if he has a tefillah that he has to do, and to make himself tohor, so if he has a tefillah mitzvah, what does he do? He covers himself, he wraps a blade of reed grass around it, and he's toivel. Meaning he ties it around him so that the waters won't erase the name, the Shem Hashem, so that when he's toivel, if there's a strong current, it doesn't erase the Shem Hashem. He doesn't tie it tightly, so therefore it's not a chatzitza. And in that way, he does the tefillah and he protects the Shem from being erased. So that's what the Tanna Kama says. But Rav Yossi, he says, no, Yair v'tayvel kedarka. He says he's Yair, he's tayvel kedarka, he can't rub it, he can't wash and rub it, but he can be tayvel kedarka. And as long as he himself doesn't actively do it, and if it does get erased, it's a groma, but he doesn't wash it, but he doesn't go to search for a reed to tie it around it to protect it. And we all, what's the machlokes over here? They're arguing if we say tefillah b'zman mitzvah. The Tanna Kama Savar Lo Yamrein Tefillah B'Zman Mitzvah. The Tanna Kama says we don't hold Tefillah B'Zman Mitzvah, so therefore we obligate him to search for a gemi to tie it around, and even if that will cause him to delay the Tefillah, we're not concerned because Tefillah B'Zman Mitzvah, and therefore it's preferable to search for a gemi to protect the shame. Rav Yossi Savar Mina Tefillah B'Zman Mitzvah, and Rav Yossi holds Tefillah B'Zman Mitzvah, and therefore we don't impose that on the person because we're afraid that by searching, imposing on him to search for the gemi, he'll miss the time and he'll delay it, and therefore won't be mekayim the mitzvah of Tefillah B'Zman. So you see that Rav Yossi does hold that Tefillah B'Zman Mitzvah. Ella, the Gemara says, Ella the Kuliyam, Allahani Tanoim, Mina Tefillah B'Zman Mitzvah. Both Rav Meir and Rav Yossi, both according to these Tanoim, they hold Tefillah B'Zman Mitzvah. So what is a machlokes? V'hacha b'haka miflagi. Rav Meir savar makshin and hazol and tefillah. Rav Meir says we make a hekesh between hazol and tefillah. The pasuk over there we learn out that tefillah b'zman mitzvah says vehiza Torah latome b'yamish shvi. It says hazol, and it says v'rachas b'mayim v'toyer. So we learn out v'rachas b'mayim v'toyer. We learn out that it says over there. Again, it says v'chita b'yem hashvi. There's a repetition of b'yem hashvi, and it says v'chibas v'rachas b'mayim. Meaning you have to do the rechitza tefillah b'yem hashvi b'zmana, but it also mentions the hazol. So you see, we make a hekesh between the two, and just like the tefillah b'zman mitzvah, so too the hazol. And Rav Yossi says, and Rav Yossi says we don't make the hekesh. So therefore, Rav Meir says they make the hekesh, and therefore you do hazol all 7 days to ensure that he's doing the hazol on the 3rd and 7th day. Rabbi Yossi says it's not a mitzvah. We don't make the hekesh, so we're not concerned that it happens to be on the third day of the Tumah or the seventh day of Tumah, as long as he has the two hazos, and the first one's not before the third day of Tumah, and there's an interval of 4 days, it's sufficient. So now the Gemara explains. So we explained the machlokes between Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yossi. What is the pshat of Rabbi Chanina Skana Kahanim? The Rabbi Chanina Skana Kahanim. In fact, the Gemara imakesh azol letfila. If he does make the hekesh, then afila kain b'yom kippur nami. Then he should say the kain gal yom kippur also should require all 7 days. And he loy makesh azol letfila. And if he's not makesh, afila kain asarav zapora nami loy. Even the kind that burns a parah should not require it. When it says loy makish, and he holds hazor bezmana is not a mitzvah. The kind of serve as a parah mala ba'alma. That's a chumra ba'alma. That's a mala ba'alma. Like we said, that since they were matam the kind of serve as a parah to make him in a full yom lo haitzim libam shel tzedukim. We impose all kinds of chumras, and we pose this chumra as well. Kiman according to which Tanoim does it go the following brisa that says Ein bein kain aseir v'sapar lekain galam kippurim. There's no difference between the kahanim, ella with the exception of shazeh prishos lekadusha. The kain gadol yom kippur is a prish lekadusha. Before he goes into the kodesh kadoshim, they separate him that he should have the kavod reish, the proper frame of mind, and to be serious, etc. To have the kavod reish that he's going to the machne shechina. And therefore, so it's not a prisha for tumah, for tahara, it's for kedusha. Therefore, the other kahanim can touch him. We're not concerned about the tahara. It's a prisha for kedusha. But the kind of serves the para, it's not a prisha kedusha, it's for tahara, to make extra churmas to ensure that he's tor. And therefore, other kahanim can't touch him, so to ensure that he's doesn't become tomei. So Kiman, who is this going like? It can be going like either one of them. Because, however, the Rabbi Chanina Skana Kahanim, but it can't be going according to him because according to Rabbi Chanina Skana Kahanim, you have this other difference that the Kohen serves a paras for 7 days, and the Kohen Gadol Yom Kippur is not for all 7 days; it's only the 3rd and 7th day. So it's not going like Rabbi Chanina Skana Kahanim. In fact, Tais says, well, why don't we have this other chilek that where they sequester them to? Which lishka? That Kohen Gadol Yom Kippur is lishka parhedrin, and the kind of service bar is lishka shalpanei abira. Taisa says there are chilukim, but we're talking about the chilukim that are significant, that make a difference in the level of kedusha of the mila that we impose on them. So we're talking about specifically only on the things that have chashivas, has a mila, that this is a special mila, that we make these differences that indicate the chashivas of where the lishka was, that they were sequestered to, is not significant in this regard.